Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gimmick, your wrestling show here on the Geekverse Network. As you can see, Mr. Snell is not here today. He's still off enjoying his family time, much needed, especially as a father of two. I get it, but you still have me today. I'm David, and we're here with S-Bubs.
Hello, yes, I'm here. I'm totally happy to take over without Travis here because you guys took over for me when I couldn't do it for a few months because of my reasons. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's what we do. We just continue on charging through. Luckily, with the three host system, we can rotate that way. So today on the Gimmick, it's been a busy month in wrestling. Let's see, we've had Survivor Series, we've had Full Gear, we had last night, Saturday night's main event that we're going to talk about. Raw's upcoming Netflix premiere, and so much more. NXT versus AEW. So we're ready to get things started. So let's start with the most recent. Espo, Saturday night's main event. Quick thoughts. What did you think?
I think I definitely enjoyed it. I think I agree with a lot of people that the expectations were they were building it more like it was gonna be a PLE when it really was a TV special. But if I'm grading it in that regard, like in comparison to like the season premiere of SmackDown like a few months ago, I'd say I definitely enjoyed the show overall. I think I liked all the matches, and there were a few in there that I really, really enjoyed. And I'm excited to see how things change for future Saturday night's main events because I think there are a few changes that could be made to make it maybe better for the future ones, especially if they're going to be doing four a year.
Yeah. Just quick overview. As someone who has been watching wrestling his entire life, I think I started probably when I was 3 or 4. That 80s, early 90s nostalgia feel was really nice. The throwbacks with the ring, the way the ropes were, the refs in their attire, the whole setup, the long skinny ramp, all of the presentation of it brought back a lot of nostalgia. I will agree that going into it, I did think that it was going to be a full on PLE style show. I was a little bit thrown off with the commercial breaks and things like that, but then it was just like, all right, this is exactly how they're playing it on NBC. I was watching it on Peacock, so yeah, I was thrown off like, oh, I'm in a full on commercial break in the middle of a match. Like, what's going on here? So
Oh yeah, I was just gonna add. From what I heard, I think the NBC stream at the start was like 30 seconds ahead or something like that. But then by at some point, like halfway through, it like synced up again, or the Peacock one was ahead or something like that. That's what I heard. I was also watching on Peacock.
yeah, I normally watch all my WWE stuff on Peacock, so that was just my go-to. But this was, again, it was a fun, nostalgic throwback. I think that they have some things that they can work on going forward. But overall, it was good. It was fun. Not a lot of matches, but it served its purpose. And Jesse Ventura on commentary was just amazing.
Yeah, and I like the him and Joe Tessitore's little segments throughout. Joe Tessitore is a very like retro voice. I think he worked really well for being sort of the host of this whole show.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. Let's start with the top of the card. I mean, it came out hot and heavy, really showing what this was going to be about. How did you feel about Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre?
I thought it was a fun match. It was, I thought, a little bit short, but then that was sort of like where I made my expectations for the rest of the show. Because it was very much a TV sort of match. But they're both great, and they've had other great matches before. And I'm interested with this whole Drew Bloodline Hunter he's doing now, where he put a little video online where he said one down, four to go. So presumably he's coming after everybody in the OG Bloodline.
Yeah. I think it's really hard to have a bad Sammy match, whether he's doing straight up bangers or he's doing comedic matches. He does everything in his power to give you something memorable. I think him and Drew together, it was a good, fun match. The only nitpicky thing that I would have about it is the amount of Blue Thunder bombs that Sami Zayn was trying to pull off. I've never seen that win a match, especially in WWE. So
He has one match. It was on a pre-show. It was last year. Do you know who he beat with a Blue Thunder Bomb?
no,
JD McDonough on the Crown Jewel pre-show. He beat with a Blue Thunder Bomb.
that tracks. That tracks. So only because it's JD McDonough, will I say okay, that's someone who can be beat by it. But I liked it. I mean, it was a good, hard hitting match. The Claymore out of nowhere, everything with that match. I knew Drew was going to end up winning this just because with them bringing him back early due to all the injuries that we've been seeing and experiencing lately, especially after War Games. You're not going to bring him back early just to have him immediately lose to Sami Zayn. So you got to build him up. It was a predictable winner, but the match itself, it served its purpose as a nice intro. And if you are a casual wrestling fan who just happened to be tuning into NBC, they were pretty fast paced. They kept the action going. I think it was a good intro match.
Yeah, I think this is a very good, like, just looking at those two, I feel like you can tell, like, this is the good guy and this is the bad guy, and, like, they're just doing your wrestling moves there if you're a casual viewer. And even I saw people point out, like, Michael Cole was, like, very much explaining, like, that's the Blue Thunder Bomb, or that's the Claymore, like,
Yeah.
sort of telling people what was going on if you were maybe. And I am wondering, like, what the ratings and stuff are gonna be like, because I don't know about NBC ratings. I don't know what things usually do on there, but I'm curious, sort of, what that's gonna be like.
Well, right now they have a lull with no major college football events until next week. So this is a perfect opportunity to shoehorn something on a national stage where traditionally people on Saturday nights are jumping over. You could have had a good chunk of people, especially here in America, who turned over to NBC looking for college football and then was like, oh, I'm just leave it on for wrestling. This brings out some nostalgia. So hopefully that brought some more eyes and some viewers in just based upon that.
Yeah, I think that's going. Yeah, very much like Saturday night. You might just be channel scrolling, and there's a wrestling show on there. So definitely, I feel like it'll definitely attract quite a few viewers, or maybe people who maybe this is the only WWE thing they'll watch this year, but it at
Yeah.
least got them for one night.
Speaking of trying to attract viewers, Liv Morgan versus Io Sky. The heat for Liv Morgan coming out was just hot. The amount of boos. I didn't think anyone would reach Dom levels, and I don't know how much of that has to do with her making her entrance with Dom, but that placed the boos rain down on her from the beginning.
Yeah, it was definitely. Yeah, I wasn't fully, like you said, I wasn't fully, like, I knew, obviously she gets booed because she's a heel, but yeah, it was definitely a lot of heat. And in addition to that, I thought the crowd the whole night was really, really good and really into it for all the matches.
Yeah. Io Sky comes out strong. They're having a good back and forth match. I was shocked though by the fact that Io decided to go at it alone, and it's that stupid trope of if I'm going to be the hero, I have to do it myself, where the bad guy's like, no, I'm bringing all my homies with me. Like, there's going to be some interference, so why not just keep damage control with you? It's set up, again, the obvious. I didn't think any major titles were going to change on this show, especially since you had the crowning of an inaugural champion. There was no reason to have any title changes, but I felt like Liv Morgan, Io Sky, they did what they had to do. Both of them are great wrestlers in their own right. Io was able to show her skill on this stage. I think there were some times where she kind of carried Liv through some of the progressions, but Liv still knows what to do. She knows how to get that heat. She knows how to get the crowd working. So I think they both gave a pretty great match. And then to end it with the stare down between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, so that again that casual viewer, that person, here's what's coming next. Keep watching. Here's what we're setting up for. I think that they did a great job. I mean, it wasn't top two match out of a five match card, but like I said, it was still a good match.
Yeah, I feel like Io and Liv both work matches that might start off. Well, maybe Liv more so, but I think maybe the crowd might not be as into it at the start, but then by the end they'll be really into it with some really good sequences and like one match I think of like that despite the issues I might have or other people might have with this reign from Liv, one of my favorite matches from this Liv was on Raw. She had a match with Zelina, and at the start the crowd was like not really into it, but in the end, it was like on fire. You had Dom out there, you had Ray out there, you had some great near falls, and I think they did the same thing with this match. They just built it up, and obviously Io selling. She did the cell of the Oblivion, like standing on her head pretty much. And yeah, I thought it was a fun match. Definitely building towards this rematch with Rhea. I guess it would be the third match.
Yeah, I think it's good to build this up. They're going to come hopefully to their culmination match, so it's a great reminder to people. Hey, this is what we have on the horizon for Liv and Rhea. It gave a good showing for Liv that again gives her some plausibility to if in the third match she ends up beating Rhea. You see that she's held her own against former champions. It wasn't as slimy as a victory as some heels do. She did hold her own with that match. They had a good back and forth. So I think that's a good look on Liv's part for setting up for the future.
Yeah, I agree.
Then after that, we had the I'll call it the banger match, and that's only because I heard the word banger probably 10 times during this match. I have, whenever Gunther's on or Sheamus, either of those, I feel like I hear the word banger a lot when it comes to their matches. But again, this was a good match, a good showing for Gunther, World Heavyweight Champion. He literally saved Damien on that powerbomb spot,
Yeah.
but and a lot of back and forth. I knew Gunther was going to retain. I didn't quite have him cleaning Finn's, pinning Finn so clean. It that kind of threw me for a loop. The shotgun drop kick into the power bomb, 1, 2, 3 to end it. But other than that, yeah, they had a great match. Priest looked strong, Gunther looked strong. Everyone in that match got a chance to shine. I don't know where Finn goes as the head of the Judgment Day going forward after this, after taking that loss, but it was a good showing for all three competitors.
Yeah, I'd say this was probably my favorite match of the whole show. I mean, I'm a big Gunther fan. I'm a huge babyface Damian Priest fan, and so he was there in his home state there. But I really enjoyed this match. Yeah, like you said, banger. Gunther, Damian, hard hitting there, and you had Finn running and flying around them, which I thought was great. Maybe best sling blades in the game, Finn Balor. He really he catches them on the neck with that thing.
Yeah.
I love seeing him do that, and yeah, some great sequences. I really appreciate that it wasn't just like two guys fighting while one of them is like dead on the outside. Like I thought most of the match was all three of them like fighting at the same time or like getting thrown out or running back in or interrupting each other. And like you said, yeah, great finish. He saves Damien and he hits the great power bomb there on the steps and power bomb to Finn. And yeah, that's also different. He'd been trying to go with this sleeper all the time, and it wasn't really working for him. And now he's going back to the classic power bomb and gets the clean win. And it seems, based on some of the videos from afterwards, that he got his confidence back there from beating both these guys.
Yeah, I'm excited for where Gunther continues with this. Like I said, I didn't think that he was losing tonight. One, because they didn't need a major title change on this event, and two, the aura of Gunther is that long time reigning. He is the person you use to hold a belt for a while and set somebody up for a major win. Like, it is a big deal if you topple someone like Gunther. So having him get this strong win off the power bomb and then stake his claim that he is the true champion, getting his confidence back, I think is great for him and his character going forward. So again, I don't know where Finn and his stupid mask that he uses on his intro goes from here. But I think that, yeah, other than the mask, all three gave a great show. And that is probably the worst part of that match was Finn's entrance. But the match itself was my favorite of the night from a match quality standpoint.
Yeah, and like you were saying, you're not sure where Finn goes from here as leader of the Judgment Day, especially when tomorrow they're facing the War Raiders with Judgment Day banned from ringside, and it's in the War Raiders' hometown, so I
Yeah.
don't see that going very well for Finn and JD tomorrow.
Yeah, and possible title change happening there. So after that, we had the inaugural Women's United States Championship match: Chelsea Green versus Mishin. Again, this is the match that made me know no other titles were probably going to change hands because you were crowning a new inaugural champion at that. As I said in the Discord, I am a huge Chelsea Green stan. I love her work ever since she's been back. Her work has been absolutely amazing, from the character to the in-ring work. Everything about her presentation has been wonderful. So I was hoping that out of the two, she would be the one to win the match and be the inaugural champion. She could lose that belt this week, and no one can take away from her that she's the inaugural champion. She could lose that belt this week, and it would actually help her character that she can keep saying, well, I was the inaugural champion. Well, you can't forget I was the, like,
Yeah,
so
it's
she
literally in the history books right there. If you ever look at that title from now until forever, it'll say that she was the first champion. So
yeah.
definitely a good
Now,
moment there.
what did catch me off guard was the amount that TNA was mentioned. Like, again, it was, they started off with two in a row talking about their histories, their titles, their matches. I'm like, I I've gotten used to it with NXT. I don't watch NXT as much as you do. You are our hardcore resident NXT guy. You are the one I defer to for my NXT knowledge. I watch the big events. I'll watch shows as I have the time or there's nothing going on. But I've gotten used to hearing NXT reference and hearing other things referenced, but this one, they were really hammering home that these two are both former champions in their own right and bringing up their history within TNA. And I thought that was cool to show that for the casual viewers who may not know who these two are, they are great wrestlers. They have been a big deal in other companies around the world, and here they are competing for this new, soon to be prestigious title. So I thought that was a good look by the announcers. Again, it caught me off guard when they did it and then immediately did it again. But I thought that was a good look. And this one was actually my favorite match from just a pure enjoyment standpoint. Because, like I said, I love Chelsea Green's work. And that flip over middle rope unprettier that she did to win. Oh, man, that was beautiful.
I was gonna say,
So
I don't think I've even seen Christian do that one before, and it was great.
yeah, so it's not your work rate match, but it was just a fun match, and those two ladies put on a heck of a show. And I think Chelsea Green was the right person to walk away as that inaugural United States champion.
Yeah, like you were saying, I think both of these women have had a great year, especially this year. I think Chelsea Green has probably been just gotten more and more popular and over, despite being like this like heel for this whole year. And Michin has really like raised her stock this whole year. I think she had a great match with EO like the first week of 2024. Still one of my favorite matches, and she went down to NXT for a while and feuded with Jada Parker, and that really elevated Jada Parker as well.
Yeah.
And she's been back on the main roster on SmackDown, having dumpster match and street fight against Nia Jax, and she's just really gotten like, I wouldn't even say better because she's always been good, but just more popular and more interesting as a character. And I think these two were the right choice to be in the finals, and Chelsea was the right winner in this final.
Yeah. She's a good choice. I'm excited to see where she has going forward and things like that. So it's good. Let's see. Alex in the chat. My only concern is how much TV time the women will have now with the tag titles, US titles, main titles. I'm hoping they don't get 5-minute segments. I think that they will get more than the 5-minute segments. I think that they will have better opportunities to display on a different week. I think this might be a situation where you don't get boggled down, because the problem with the tag titles was there weren't a lot of tag teams. So they were just manufacturing tag teams. So then that took other people out of contention for any other belts and things like that. So I think this gives them an opportunity to maybe, all right, on this week, we're going to highlight the U.S. Championship, and then we'll have a little bit of that. Then we'll highlight the Tag Team Championship. So you're not having the champion appear every week in that arena, and it also gives other people more things to do. So you have an opportunity to throw in a random women's match, and this is your number one contenders match. This is things that you can build up for something else for those who are not in the main title picture. So your Zelina Vegas of the world and your other members of Damage Control, those who aren't chasing the title right now, it gives them something to do.
Yeah, and I think especially with, and if I'd say it's pretty much confirmed that Raw and SmackDown are both gonna be going to 3 hours, I think that adds time for them to be featured. And in addition, if you have the Saturday night's main events each quarter, maybe some of those, like for example, the women's tag team championships that might not make the Royal Rumble match card, for example, maybe that could be a big match on the Saturday night's main event, like the week before it in January. I think that's coming up. So I think they'll make time for it, and especially now, if you look at all the stuff with the 2 hour Raw, a lot of the backstage segments that you'd see on the show normally are now all on social media. So I think when it goes to 3 hours, they'll be adding those back in. You'll have some time there, like for example, like Braun Breaker. Like a lot of his segments have been backstage stuff, but every once in like they've been building that sort of slowly, and now he's having this match. I think this Monday with Kaiser. So you can see if Raw goes to 3 hours. Well, I mean it is going to 3 hours. You'll have time for some of these cards. Or this week also, I think it was like 75% women's wrestling on Raw. So you can have like a week in, week out, like 1 week something, 1 week something else, and I think there'll be time for it.
Yeah. Like I said, it gives opportunities for more women to be shown and go from there, which can't hurt. It gives more people a time to shine, more people time to go forward. So I'm all for it. After that, we then go to the undisputed WWE Championship match. Again, before I get into that, we were talking earlier about feeling like this was the difference between this being a special versus a full-on PLE. You only had 5 matches on here, and they weren't like long, drawn-out matches. It seemed to go pretty quick. Like I'm used to with AEW, when they first started, they would have 5 or 6 matches, but they would be 30 minutes apiece, and the pay-per-view would go on forever. These were pretty quick but solid matches. So we end this out with the fifth match, the undisputed WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens. KO has been making a showing not only on TV but also on social media, just going full on KO, just being himself, and it has been great. And as we all suspected from the promo with Triple H, the one night only, Cody Rhodes comes out with a version of the Winged Eagle belt. I say a version because his was more of a navy blue leather, where the Winged Eagle has been black, blue, and things like that. I believe the Winged Eagle spent most of its time with the black leather and didn't transition into the blue leather till right before they went into the Globe style WWE Championship. But he comes out, Winged Eagle belt, the one night only. Again, you get that good nostalgia feel, and I think that they had a pretty good match overall with some nice little nods, a lot of callbacks and shout outs to Randy Orton during this match. But no, it was a good match. Jesse Ventura on commentary again was a highlight. His disdain for the Rhodes family and therefore Cody was just immaculate. And the whole build up of Cody being the arrogance, things like that, leading up to it, really set the stage for how this match ended.
Yeah, they had the match before at Bash in Berlin, which I think at the time I said I didn't dislike it, but there were a lot of people really loving it, and I wasn't one of those. And I think I enjoyed this match about the same. I think I like the story going into it, and I think it's definitely interesting with how it ended, especially the stuff that happened afterwards. But I think even with Cody using sort of the chair that KO brought in, and is an interesting detail there. And yeah, I liked the match. And yeah, like you said, the Winged Eagle title looked awesome there. And yeah, I'm very interested how this goes and when the next match is happening.
Yeah. KO taking the title at the end, saying, "This is mine now." I do like the fact that, and I know some people are complaining, and you had an excellent post about this over on X/Twitter. People are complaining about the social media aspect of it. I have been a fan of these fan cam footage results, the things that happen after the show. It gets me involved. It gets me searching Twitter for more views of it, more fan cam footage, more angles of it. So I think it adds an extra layer. And in this era that we're in, with people constantly online and seeking that information, to me, this is great stuff. And we all know Triple H spends a lot of time on social media, looking at things, looking at trends. So this is great. The attack afterwards, to get in his face. I don't know if you've seen KO's Twitter lately, but he has been taking those posts and he's reposting it, but he's changing the narrative. So the image of Triple H coming out and confronting him, he reposted and says, "Exclusive, Triple H comes out to thank Kevin Owens after the match for stopping." Like, he's changed it to make himself be the good guy. And it's been class stuff that's really setting up. Again, we knew Cody was going to keep this championship. Cody's not losing this thing before WrestleMania. We all know there's too much at stake. He's selling too hot. He's the quote unquote quarterback right now. He's leading the federation. There's no way that he's dropping it right now. But the stuff that KO has been doing with him has just been class. Even on the opening videos when they were showing them arriving to the arena, and KO arrives wearing a Gold Dust shirt. I'm just like, this guy right here.
He's had some great shirts. I don't know if you saw all the different ones he's had. He's had a Dusty one, a Stardust one, a Gold Dust one, and well, he was wearing his Canadian Dream shirt there, which I really like that design.
Yeah. I do wonder where Cody is going as a character after this, because he started to employ a lot of heel tactics towards the end. So I don't know if this is the slow descent into Homelander Cody that we're getting, or if this is one of those "you did it, so I did it" type maneuvers. Like I would love to see
Cody,
how they justify it.
Cody was saying, he'd do anything to win, and didn't think he would do that because he was the golden boy of WWE. So Cody did exactly what he said he was gonna do, and KO wasn't happy about that.
Yeah. So Cody gets the win. Like I said, we all saw that coming. It was a good match, but again, the highlights of this match were the intros, the post match, and Jesse Ventura. Those were the three highlights of this match. My only downside would be the constant ref bumps. I think there was too much. I get it. You needed it in order to have the whole chair spot, but ref bump after ref bump. And then Charles Robinson standing outside of the ring, given the pin. It just seemed a little bit hokey, but other than that, the match served its purpose.
Yeah, at the time, I wouldn't say I was a huge fan of it, but I think with this whole story of Kevin thinking he's the rightful champion for multiple reasons, I think that'll work.
Yeah, and that same here. At the time, I'm like, well, that's a weird ending. But then with all the post match stuff, I'm like, okay, I see where we're going with the who is the quote unquote real winner of this.
Yeah, and I think also it's a good idea, especially to keep that winged eagle around on TV for a little bit longer, I'd say.
Yeah, I could very well see him rocking up with it, saying, "Hey, no, I'm the champion. This is my championship. Like I earned this. You screwed me, but this is mine." So, I if they keep the Winged Eagle around for that reason, to have the who's the real champion type deal before another face off where Cody will win and just be outright and continue rocking the current iteration of the Universal Championship, I'm all for it. Plus, it sells some more belts. I would love to see the metrics on how many of the Winged Eagle belts they sold immediately after Cody made his entrance.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll release maybe like a Cody specific Winged Eagle belt like they did the CM Punk spinner and make it like limited edition stuff like that. I could see them selling that.
All right, before I go on to the Raw Netflix premiere predictions, I do have to touch on that CM Punk spinner. CM Punk hated the spinner, so why did they make a special edition CM Punk spinner belt for the man who wanted to dead the spinner belt?
Well, I mean, I'm sure he's pretty happy with how the sales of that. He posted a picture there of him signing like every single one of them.
I mean, collect your residuals, but I was just like, he's got a spinner? Like, y'all just wanted to produce something, because it makes no sense. So
Yeah, they've done if you go on the WWE shop, they have some like weird custom ones out there. Like I think there's like a Shawn Michaels one, a Bret Hart one. There's like a Hogan one. That's just like it's just like
yeah.
whatever belt, but just like colored to be their colors. And I don't know. I don't think if I could buy one of those replica belts, I'm not sure I'd ever get one of those custom ones, especially if they've never appeared like on TV. But I guess if you're a real collector, you might want one of those.
I just signed into shop.wwe.com, and the banner is available until 12/16 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Signed item, Cody Rhodes Winged Eagle title. So yeah, they are they're gonna get their money. They are gonna get their money. They are gonna get their title belts. Yeah, I'm not a fan of some of the signature series, is I believe what they call it, those belts. The Hulk Hogan one looked ugly in my opinion. They gave the Dudley Boys a tag team one, and it's just literally the old school tag team belt with kind of a camo feel to it for the Dudley Boys. Like it just there's so many that I'm just like this doesn't make sense. You guys just threw a colorway on the back of a title and hope everyone's gonna buy it.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, and if I got one, I'd definitely just get a normal one. I feel like than a very customized one. I mean, unless you're just like the biggest Dudley Boys fan out there, you really want that. So
Yeah, like when I got my replica, I got a replica of the old school world heavyweight title. I got that replica because that's the belt that I grew up on. I didn't need one of the special ones that had a different color strap or anything else. I'm like, this is the belt I grew up on, so this is the one that I want.
yeah,
All right, let's see. So, Raw Netflix premiere predictions. January 6th is coming up. As they tell us 5 times a show. So I know right now we've got Roman Reigns and Solo scheduled for that. There's been reports of The Rock coming back for that. There's most likely definitely going to be a title change on that show. It reminds me of when SmackDown moved to Fox and they had Brock Lesnar kill Kofi on that first night just to have the big title change, the big moment going forward. So, do you have any predictions for this first episode on Netflix?
I think first we can lay out sort of the card, or at least what we imagine the card to be, based on some confirmed stuff and some reported stuff, which I think is going to be true. So I'd say we have Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for the Ula Fala. That one is confirmed officially. We have most likely Seth Rollins versus CM Punk happening on that show. We have, what else is there? I think is the women's intercontinental title, I think, finals happening on there. I think
Yep.
that's the report. And then presumably, I think Rhea versus Liv is happening on that show as well.
Yeah, those are the ones that we know about for sure that are going to happen on that show. Right now, that's just 4 confirmed slash semi-confirmed matches. I have a feeling with this, they are probably going to pack on 1 or 2 more. I think that even though Cody is a SmackDown guy, you're going to have some sort of appearance from Cody with the title on there.
Yeah, I think John Cena confirmed to appear on the show. And then on another note, I assume Roman Solo, like including entrances and Roman's matches, I think could be like a 45-minute type match. So that's also to take into consideration in terms of how many other matches could be added onto there.
All right. Now, my thing is, so does Roman end the show? Do we end with the Bloodlines Ulafalo appearance, or will there be some sort of championship match to end the show?
I'm not sure yet. You would think it's Roman, so he's main eventing the show. But yeah, if the only other championship match we pretty much know is happening there would be, well, we have the intercontinental one, but I don't think that one is main eventing. So I would say we have Rhea versus Liv, which my prediction has been that there will be a title change there with Rhea winning. So, but then maybe, because I don't think, well, I assume it'll just start with like the show will begin with like a promo. Obviously, I assume John Cena probably coming out first.
Yes.
Talk about being on Netflix and such. Maybe Triple H comes out there too. Cody Rhodes, you get everyone out there, and then yeah, I'm not sure what the match order really will be here. Now that I'm thinking about it.
So I feel like right now you have to have Gunther appear on the show as well. He is your World Heavyweight Champion, which is technically your Raw brand. So he has to be there in some shape or form. What I could see happening is you have Gunther start off the show, get the booze and everything, and he is interrupted by John Cena. John Cena has his hero moment. They don't necessarily have a match, but you get your showing of your world heavyweight title match. You get your John Cena moment before you kick off the show. I think Roman versus Solo will end the show, and I think that Roman versus Solo will end the show because of The Rock.
Okay.
So if you're going to have a Rock appearance, you either do it top of the show or you close out the show, one or the other. So I think that if you're going to have John Cena as a part of the opening, then you have Rock as the closer. You continue whatever this storyline is with the bloodline. Is he coming back? Who's he going to face? That's where we go from there. I There's the talks of him not being at WrestleMania, so that will kind of lead to, all right, is he going to be someone who is set up for WrestleMania, or are we going to go ahead and get his part of the bloodline out right now? But I think because of The Rock, you have Solo and Roman end it.
Yeah, I think the report right now is the creative plans don't have The Rock in them. But if The Rock were to show up on January 5th to WWE and TKO and say, I want to have a match at WrestleMania, he'll have a match at WrestleMania. That's the simple answer. So it really comes down to, like, I think at this point in the creative plans, Rock's not there. But at the same time, by the time we get to that show, it could very well end with a Rock and Roman piece by the end. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say.
Alex says, I think they might tease a Rock Cena moment. They could. Only reason I would go against that is because they just had all of them as part of the WrestleMania 41 situation. So I think they might not go back to that well just yet.
Yeah, I
Maybe,
think if you tease it again and don't do the match, then it's like, okay, now you're just teasing it for teasing. I think if they do another like tease like actual moment, then they'll have some sort of match. But if not, they want to keep it apart.
yeah. If you want to throw it on a non WrestleMania PLE, which I do think that they could bring The Rock and Cena in as part of Cena's go home tour and do it on a non WrestleMania show if they are saving the big
If you're the
bloodline
night
blow off.
of SummerSlam and you need to sell those tickets, you could
Yes,
have a Rock and Cena SummerSlam match.
exactly. So I don't think that this would be the opportunity to tease that Rock Cena moment, only because if it's not going somewhere sometime soon, there's no point. And I don't think it would be a good idea if the plans are for Cena Rock WrestleMania 3 for you to put that out there now because you have all this intensity with him in the bloodline. You don't need to distract from that with this possible matchup with someone who has nothing to do with any of this on down the line. So I think because they just had their moments at WrestleMania 41 as part of that big brawl and everything else, they will hold off on Rock Cena.
Yeah, I agree there.
So I do think that, like you said, Rhea takes the title. But who do you have winning the women's IC title?
I think. Hmm, I think there's a couple. I think there's two good stories you could tell here. I think, and they involve Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch, who I assume is coming back on this show. So I think if you have, and the rumor is Becky wants to do something different. So I assume that means she's turning heel, and I think there's a story there of maybe Lara Valkyria failing at this IC title, and Becky not seeing maybe why her Padawan here has not succeeded while she was gone, and being upset at that. and then that's a feud there.
Yeah.
Or you could have Lyra win it, and then just Becky is like, I'm gonna challenge you for it.
No love for Natalia.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think one of the options is Lyra doesn't win it. In that case, I assume Natalia would win it for that heart connection and just being a big part of WWE for a long time and helping obviously a lot of these women. And I think she would want to do that. She already does that, helping other people. And with this title, I think she could do that. So I think those are the two sort of options there. But wait, also, oh wait, no. Because Lyra isn't in. Are they on the same side of the bracket? I think they are.
Lyra, Alba Fire. Let's
Yeah, I
see.
think Natalia and Lyra are on the same side of the bracket.
Yes, so it would be either the winner of Natalia, Kairi Sane, Alba Fire versus Lyra Valkyria. Then you'll have the winner of Zoe Stark, Raquel Rodriguez, Caden Carter versus Dakota Kai. So
Okay.
I have it as Natalia pulling off the win against Lyra. I'm not sure who she would face. I honestly think, as much as I like Dakota Kai, I don't think that they're going to give it to her just because of the injuries and other things. I don't think you want to start her off with the belt until after she's been back in the ring for a substantial amount of time without injury or time off. I could see Zoe Stark being in the finals only because I think she would be a good matchup against either Lyra or Natalia. And if it's Raquel Rodriguez, is literally just to further the Judgment Day situation. I don't think Carter really has a chance. She is my one that I'm absolutely like. I don't see any part of Caden Carter taking this. So, but I would say Zoe versus Natalia in the finals with Natalia winning it. I think that they could put on a good, solid match.
Yeah, I agree.
And for the Intercontinental on the men's side, how it always had the theme of being the quote unquote the workhorse championship. I think that that's another reason why I would lean towards Natalia, because she has been the workhorse of the WWE women's division, whether it is training young superstars, helping out wherever she can, doing whatever's asked of her. I mean, the girl went through a whole farting gimmick for a very long time. Like, I think she has earned that respect and that chance to go down in the history books.
Yeah, I think that's a good option there.
All right, so let's see. Other than that, talked about Becky maybe returning. I think if Becky returns, it would be in a form of whoever wins, she's going to step up and say, "Hey, I want to face you." So, and even with that, if it is Natalia and Natalia wins, just like I said about Chelsea Green, and she immediately loses on her first time out to Becky, I wouldn't be mad. She's in the history books as that champion. You can't take that away from her. Do I want her to go on a little bit of a longer run with it? Of course, because I do think that she deserves to have the people reminded of just how good she is in the ring. But I could see a situation where Becky returns and she's like, I'm next up.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving on. Early WrestleMania predictions. Do you have anything that you think already this is going to be a moment? This is going to be something that is going to pop off.
Well, I have some stuff here written down, and I guess this links back to if we keep talking about this first Raw, it's the whole Punk Rollins situation here. So, obviously, well, the rumor is they're gonna have their match at the Raw Netflix premiere. So I think the two options that means is that's either the start of a series or like leading to WrestleMania. or this is gonna be like their match, Punk and Rollins do something different at Mania, and then maybe continue that after into the summer and stuff like that. So I have some options of like WrestleMania options for the men here. I can read them off.
Go for it.
So I think one of the options, like that could be, is obviously the Punk Roman match at WrestleMania. I think with a lot of hype behind it, and obviously the views, the Instagram views that people have been talking about, that could happen. In that case, I think Seth could fight Gunther at WrestleMania, possibly, because I feel like I don't think they've had a match for a title. I don't think so, or at least not the IC or the World Heavyweight Championship. And then I think a possible option is Cody Cena at Mania. Or I have the other option, which I think is more simple, sort of ish, which would be Gunther Cena, which is what I think most people think is gonna happen. You would have Seth and Punk at WrestleMania. I assume that'd be maybe their third match or second match. Not sure how, if they want to continue that afterwards, or if that'll be the big ending. And then you'd have Roman versus Jacob, which I think is a big option for a match. And that's been the rumor for a while, that Roman really wants to have a match with Jacob. But then that leaves me, I don't really know what Cody would do if it's not The Rock.
Yeah,
If you have Punk, Seth, Gunther, Cena, Roman all tied up in their own stuff, I really don't know what Cody would do in that case.
I have thought the same thing. Like the different configurations of who Roman could face, there are so many. But when it comes to Cody, you're very limited just in how things have been set up. I could see him going against Punk for the championship, and I feel like if he beats Punk, it would not be that big of a deal to Punk. If he gets that WrestleMania main event moment, then I think that he would be okay taking the loss, especially at this point in his career. Punk 10 years ago might have had something to say. Punk of right now, I think, would be okay with that. I could see I could see Roman doing a 2 night thing where if they are really trying to stretch out everything going on with the bloodline, where the final nail in the coffin happens on night 2, depending on what happens with the Raw Netflix premiere. So, say somehow Solo beats Roman on the Raw Netflix premiere, shenanigans afoot, whatever, and they extend it out to WrestleMania. I could see Roman facing Jacob night 1 for the chance to take back the bloodline on night 2 by beating Solo. I could see them stretching out that bloodline stuff to that degree, and I wouldn't be mad about it. I don't know exactly who you have John Cena face off on, because that's going to be a big match. That is going to be a big match. I don't think that will highlight either night of WrestleMania. And excuse me. The reason that I don't think it will highlight either night of WrestleMania is because I don't see John Cena winning. I see John Cena wanting to make a star out of somebody. So this would be his last WrestleMania, but it's not his last match. So you still have more John Cena appearances afterwards. They've said, yes, it would be his last WrestleMania, but that's not the end of the road for him. So you still have SummerSlam and other opportunities for him to do some things. So I see him using this as an opportunity to make a star. And that would be, honestly, I could see him versus Braun Breaker for that. Or if Gunther still has the title, him versus Gunther. I don't see him going against Cody. I don't see American Hero, American Hero. That's not where I really see that going unless you're planning on going full Homelander. Now, if you're going full Homelander, if you're going full heel Cody, then yes, do it and do it hard. Go full stop on it.
Yeah,
But
I was just trying to figure out, like, it's sort of when I was trying to reorganize everything into the possible combinations, the question was always like, what does Cody really get here? And that was one of the. I don't think Cody Cena is happening, but when I was writing down just a bunch of possibilities, I mean, obviously it's a possible WWE champion and John Cena.
yeah. So like I said, I would like John Cena to get his record breaking, beat Flair, but I don't feel like that is on his agenda. He does not strike me as the type to come back for that.
I think it will happen, but I agree with you that I don't think it will be at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think that is the time to make a star, and I think that is exactly what they are going to do with that, is use that as an opportunity to make a star or even set up for where he's going down the line. And if you're going to do that, I'm fine with it. Let it be a mid-card match. Let him either take the pin, but give the crowd some time to just enjoy him while you're setting up for whatever mid-show concert or whatever else you're doing, and go from there. I don't see him topping either of those nights. I do see Punk headlining at least one night of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And whether it be for a championship or not sure. I don't know if they continue the Seth feud after this and they have their final blow off at WrestleMania. Either way, I feel like they are going to give him that opportunity to headline one night.
Yeah, I think so.
So, now my question is there any major championship that you see already crashing out at WrestleMania? All right, can you look on the horizon and go, you know what? I think you're only going to hold this belt till WrestleMania and then lose it.
Right now, trying to think. I think whoever is the women's champion, like SmackDown women's, I think just WWE Women's Championship is called. Whoever it is losing to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. I don't think it matters who specifically it is, but I think they're losing to Charlotte there. And
You know, that's the same thought that I had. The exact same thought that I had.
But I think it will be Tiffany versus Charlotte at WrestleMania, with Charlotte winning. And I think this is a thing that could be like the Rhea and Charlotte match, where they had their match at WrestleMania in 2020, the Performance Center one, which then that one was for the NXT title, but Charlotte won that one, and then a few years later, Rhea got her win back at WrestleMania, and I think the same story could possibly be told with Tiffany and Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was so disappointed about that Performance Center match. I was so looking forward to Rhea doing her thing. She comes out in the Vegeta outfit. I'm already stoked about that. And then when she lost, I was like, wait, what? What? That's what we're doing? Yeah. So I did think strongly that this would be the Charlotte showcase. And I could see Tiffany Stratton cashing in around Royal Rumble time and having that belt, and then here comes Charlotte like, yeah, no, you can go ahead, give me that. That's mine. So, yeah, I agree with you there. That is the only title that right now I can guarantee say, yeah, this one's going to change hands because Charlotte's going to Charlotte.
another one that I feel might not be on as many people's minds is I think Braun Breaker will lose his Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. I feel my dream would be he loses it to Sheamus for that big WrestleMania moment, but there's other options I possible, but that's my dream booking there. That one's not a 100% lock for me as the Charlotte one is. Like the Charlotte one is like that is happening. Like
Yeah.
there's no doubt in my mind. But
You know,
yeah.
that wasn't on my radar, but I'm okay with it. If that's how you want to give Sheamus that nod, I'm okay with it because I do want him to get that. Sheamus has been an incredible worker. He has come a long way. Yes, he was pushed hard, fast, and early, and it kind of threw a weird taste in people's mouths. You also had him involved in the whole Roman Reigns glow up and the multiple championships and headlines and things like that. That kind of soured some people. So yeah, I think this is a good time. He's been putting on some great matches. He's been holding it down. If you want to give him his run with the IC belt at this point, I go ahead. I know that there's probably going to be a huge shakeup between now and WrestleMania with the roster, so all this could just be out the window depending on whose TV deal makes someone want to have someone else on a roster.
Yeah.
So we will see from there because that's also going to do a huge shakeup to our own rosters and our own draft because a lot of these changes, man, it's like, all right, who's going to start facing who now?
We could do a little mini segment here. Just who you think is gonna change shows, and maybe who you would want to maybe change shows.
I think that Roman is definitely jumping over to Raw. I think that he is a known name and face. And if you're not going to pull Cody back over with the WWE championship, if you're going to leave Gunther as your champion, then you're pulling Roman over because you want that big known name. So I could definitely see Roman being a staple of the Netflix era going forward.
Yeah, one group that this isn't so much a prediction, more of a want of who I want to change hands, is either you move Priest to SmackDown or you move the Judgment Day to SmackDown. Because I think both of those could really help both, like, either you could have, if, for example, Priest, he could be in the US title scene on SmackDown, and you could have matches against Mello and Andrade and some of those people who he hasn't really had matches with before. Or if you move, for example, like JD and Finn and Dominic and those to SmackDown, I think that could be tag division, like a US title. You could have Finn versus Cody as that could be a, like, let's say you need a match for Elimination Chamber. There you go. Finn Balor versus Cody Rhodes for the title. Like, there's your match there. So I think either the Judgment Day is moving to SmackDown or Priest, and also to separate them after so much feuding. Unless that is going to Mania and you're getting Priest versus Finn at Mania. I guess that's the third possible option. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping one of them makes a change and that could help them and help the divisions on both shows.
I would be okay with Finn going over to SmackDown and taking the entire Judgment Day with him, just giving them a fresh start, especially if Liv loses the title to Rhea. Then you don't have that aspect holding them down. Send them over. I mean, they continue to be a focal point of the programming, so that just you plug them into SmackDown, you have them get back to their whole running wild style instead of just these feuds that they've been having where it's one-on-one with the same people. They can go back to just running roughshod over the entire show. So I think that would be a good change of pace for them. And then it also gives you time to build Finn back up, because I do think Finn is in desperate need of a re-glow up.
and I think SmackDown has more people you could have, for example, Finn like beats that aren't just like complete like lower carders. Because I think Raw doesn't really have like Raw goes from like Otis to like Sheamus like really quick. Like there's no really like I wouldn't say like all the mid carders are all pretty like established that like them losing would be like I wouldn't say like a big deal, but like significant. Like you can't have so and so losing all the time to build someone else up. Where on
Yeah.
SmackDown, I feel like there's a couple more people maybe. Maybe this doesn't make full sense now I'm thinking about it, but either way, I want on SmackDown.
Yeah, and then SmackDown's got an incredible tag division with DIY with Motor City Machine Gun. So if you are going to take Finn over there, and if you want to keep them doing the tag team thing, you have opportunities over there as well. So yeah, I could definitely see them being the ones that pop over and make that switch.
And then that's not even considering possible NXT call ups here. Because I think there are a couple NXT people who could be getting called up soon.
That is definitely, especially with the move to Netflix, I could definitely see that happening. Is there a big PLE between now and January 6th for NXT?
There's one the day after January 6th.
Oh,
There's New Year's Evil.
so I could see Trick getting called up and then losing the next night on New Year's Evil. I mean,
People have noticed on the Raw is Netflix ads, it's all Raw people, all the big stars, and Trick. Like he's the only NXT person shown. So I feel like someone at Netflix was like, "We want this guy on our show."
yeah,
And yeah, I feel like Trick losing to Ova Femi is like a 100% at this point. That's one you can lock in.
yeah.
So I think a call up would be possible. I don't think he needs a call up this early. I think he's one of those you could leave an extra year before. Like Braun Breaker, like people thought he was gonna get called up like a year ago, and with that extra year, he did the whole thing with Baron Corbin, and that got him way more over and experienced than if he had been called up a year prior. So I don't think calling up Trick would be a good idea, but I think it might be possible. But some
Yeah.
others I do think are getting called up and would be like time for them. Maybe not like by the Netflix premiere, but I'd say in Mania season, maybe a little bit after Raw, after Mania, and that sort of stuff. I think Wesley is getting called up. Um, I think Ethan Page could be possibly getting called up because he's one of those that's like he's already had wrestling experience for like 18 years or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
he's not one of those that needs to stay in NXT for a while, unless you keep him as someone to put people over in that case. Um, and for the women, I could see maybe them finally calling up like Fallon Henley or like Gigi Dolan and JC Jane and putting them on some shows. Uh, and I'm trying to think who else is like one of those. Like Wesley is my most like. I'm pretty sure he's getting called up soon. And outside of that, I'm not really sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, when it comes to NXT, like I said, I know a good chunk of the roster, but not the full scope of them. I don't think you're bringing up Julia already. You may bring up Roxanne
I think
Perez.
Julia. Well, there's Rox. Oh yeah, Roxanne Perez. That's definitely one that's getting. She's definitely getting called up. I think Julia is B. Well, actually, now that you bring, you reminded me of that because I completely forgot about it. But now I'll lay it out here. So yeah, I think Julia is beating Roxanne on that New Year's Evil when she gets called up. And then I think at Stand and Deliver, you have Stephanie Vicaire beat Julia, and then Julia gets called up like Raw after Mania.
I think I could definitely see that.
And then I assume whenever Vicaire loses the title, she gets called up. And the plan for Roxanne for months now, because Julia was supposed to come into NXT earlier, but she got injured in Marigold, so the plans are sort of pushed back. But even the rumor since then is whenever Roxanne loses that title, she's getting called up.
Yeah, I could also see Cora Jade coming up. I honestly feel like NXT has a strong batch of women that you could pick three or four out of them and bring them up, and they would all do amazing out of the gate.
Yeah, and the thing with NXT too is you have a lot of them get called up, but then you also have a lot of great women who aren't really being used right now. That with those call ups could easily fill that space in NXT, as compared to the men's singles division, where there really aren't many people you could take out and have it be competence without having like Ridge Holland main event every show. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of women in NXT that could be called up and already have people to take. Like Thea Hale is a great wrestler, and she hasn't wrestled a match in like 3 months because there's all these top stars that
Yeah.
are like running everything.
And like I saw a bit of I think her name is Carmen Petrovic, and she had a good presentation, and I'm like, okay, I could definitely see her being a spotlight person with
Yeah, like the
them.
future NXT women's main eventers are like Carmen Petrovic, Lola Vice, Jada Parker.
Oh, you got to
Like
keep Lola there just for those shoot fights that she does, those five pit style ones. She has been those I have seen, and I've been very impressed with those.
those have been fun. They always all of them have like something different in them. Like she had I think I remember the Natalia one being good cuz yeah, that one was like all submissions and like the sharpshooter like putting her into the sharpshooter like a ton of times. The Shayna one was like I think the Shayna one was the most like shoot fight type one. I think maybe they went onto the table like a once or twice.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, the one with Jada Parker was fun also because that one was also more like just like Lola Vice was doing the MMA stuff and then Jada Parker was just doing normal wrestling stuff. Like she was just suplexing her and body slams and like using the table and the steps and stuff. But yeah, that's a fun match type and it's cool that she has like her own match type. She even main event like one of the I think spring break in night one like the main event was the underground match. So
yeah. So you have a lot of opportunities for call ups. I'm interested to see how things change as a result of this. But luckily, again, they have a deep roster on all of sides of it, so there is going to be a good shakeup, and I'm excited to see where they go with this shakeup. Speaking of a full roster, let's get into some pay-per-view reviews. So let's start off first with AEW Full Gear. And the reason I say loaded roster is because counting the pre-show, this had 12 matches. 12. And they weren't all singles matches. Like there was two four-way matches. One of them was a four-way tag team match. The other one was a four-way singles match. But man, 12 matches. Now, granted, three of those were pre-show matches, but still, 12 is a lot. And they also weren't short matches either. I mean, the average length of the matches on the main show was, I believe, over 15 minutes apiece. Most of them were in the 18 to 19 range, with a couple of them being in the 13-minute range. That makes for a long night. A long night.
yeah.
So let me just run down the card real quick. On the pre-show, we had Anna Jay defeat Deonna Purrazzo via pinfall. We had Buddy
Not a good
Math.
start for her faction there with Ty.
Yeah. We had Buddy Matthews with an amazing showing, defeating Dante Martin, Commander, and the Beast Mortis in a fatal four-way match. I thought that was a good showing for Buddy Matthews. And then the highlight of the pre-show, the most talked about pre-show match, was Big Boom AJ of the Costco Boys accompanied by Big Justice and the Rizzler as timekeeper versus QT Marshall, which we all knew how this was going to end. You're bringing in a celebrity guest, all this, and against someone like QT Marshall, you knew how this was going to go.
Yeah. But it ended up being, I thought, a really fun match.
Yeah,
I liked this match. I've even rewatched it. I even rewatched it once, and I think for what it was, and it ended up going over really well with the crowd, and I think it was a good moment for AEW and a fun
yeah.
moment. And I think it was even. I think people were saying this pay per view might have had the first show where the first match on the actual card was just a cool down from the pre-show match.
Yeah. So we started off with the Fatal Four tag team match for the AEW Tag Team Champions, with half the teams getting, well, actually, three-fourths of the teams getting pre-show entrances. Now, I'm used to the pre-show entrances on Dynamite and on Rampage, where they'll tweet out, hey, watch the entrances here, so that they can maximize the show length. You didn't have to maximize the show length here, so I don't know why you did the entrances as part of the pre-show.
They
With
did
the
it at All In too for the New
yeah,
York match. The
W-
entrances started on the pre-show. I guess in theory it's just like, look, maybe people who haven't bought the show yet, in theory, would see these cool entrances and be like, oh, I want to watch this match now. But also, I do not think any of this helped. I think people, especially with AEW, I don't think, like, if you're just a YouTube watcher and you see these cool entrances, I don't think you're spending whatever amount of money it is to watch the show.
and not for the opening matches either. So, Private Party, the Outrunners, Kings of the Black Throne, and the Acclaimed. None of this, if I'm a casual viewer who is watching the pre-show, is going to be like, oh yeah, that match is happening. You know what? I am going to buy it. If you're going to do that, you need to start off with a big no name. Now, Private Party winning, I think that was something that was pretty set up. They were going to continue from what they did off of the Young Bucks. I didn't think it was the right time to drop it now, but for the most part, yeah, they had the type of match that I thought that they would have. Nothing special in my opinion. It was just a good, solid match.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely just building the Acclaim storyline as well.
Yeah. So, and then MJF defeated Roderick Strong by submission, and we knew what this was going to be. There was no chance Roddy Strong was beating MJF. The post match beatdown stuff, and then the Kingdom being mad at, excuse me, the Kingdom being mad that Roddy didn't get saved in time. That's something about that seemed a little bit off to me. Like, y'all didn't rush out either. Why are y'all mad at Adam Cole? Y'all didn't do anything.
In wrestling logic, I feel like everyone, like, you're legally not allowed to do a run-in until the person is already being beaten down.
Yeah, like in my head canon, it is they are back there in Gorilla telling somebody to cue their music. That's what's taking them so long to get the guy is sitting there searching the files to get your Tron set up and everything else. And until that's ready, then you can run out. Because I'm like, you're mad at Adam Cole.
That, all these wrestlers have little microchips in them that activate when they go through the entranceway, detect them, and then it plays their music automatically as they run out.
Yeah. So Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander. This was a surprisingly good match. It was for the TBS Championship, Moné's TBS Championship. Mercedes Moné has been hit or miss with me in AEW and as a champion, and I think this was a very, very good showing for her. And it was a very good showing for Chris Statlander. They both gave it their all. Mercedes looked like the Sasha Banks of old, which is what I've been waiting for. I still think she struggles with promos, but this one was really some strong in-ring work by both of them, which made Mercedes feel more credible as champion.
Yeah, I agree. I think having her against Statlander is a really good base for a lot of the moves and stuff, especially the size difference. I think that
Yeah.
helps her a lot. Like, there's just more moves she can do on Statlander than someone else who's of the same size.
Yeah. Jay White defeated Hangman Adam Page. I went back and forth about my feelings on this match. I originally going into it had Hangman winning, just to continue like his story. In the way that they were really pushing that Jay White has had his number on so many occasions, has beat him 5 times in singles matches, all this other stuff. I'm like, okay, they're really setting me up to think that Hangman's going to do it this time. And Jay White wins. And I was just like, oh, that was not a result I saw happening, but does kind of, in retrospect, help with Hangman's descent into madness.
Yeah, and I think especially now with the story that we're seeing into World's End is also an interesting wrinkle there. If they
Yeah.
really want to team up against the Mox, or if there might be more issues between them.
Yeah. Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. And Will Ospreay with the amazing entrance. Will Ospreay kills it with these pay-per-view entrances. And I was totally here for this Punisher feel.
Oh yeah, I think, and he's used it. I think a couple more times since then. I believe. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a cool design. I like it a lot.
But Kyle Fletcher getting the win. Will Ospreay has not shied away from giving others their shine and giving others their wins. So I think that's been good. Kyle Fletcher looked great. It continues this Will Ospreay versus Don Callis storyline thing. And like I said, they put on probably from a pure wrestling standpoint my favorite match of the night. I love Will Ospreay. He is in my top 2 of current active wrestlers, but I thought this was a great match. I thought they did right with the booking of this, and for it being a 24-minute match, it did not feel like it. I was all for this.
Yeah. Who's your other person in your top two?
Oh, in my top 2 currently outside of Will Ospreay, I would say that if I'm just going off of the wrestling aspect of it, he technically is a current wrestler. I would still say Kenny Omega is my favorite, even though he is out with injury, but he will be back in less than a month. So I'm waiting to see full on Kenny. I want full Kenny to just show up and show out. I think he is just absolutely amazing. He can do the high flying, he can do the flips, but he also just his whole presentation, his facial expressions, everything he does in a match makes Kenny my favorite active wrestler right now.
Yeah, I didn't know. I assumed that's who it would be, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know if you had some other wrestler that you just really like.
I love you, Solo. That's my number one.
My photo here of Julia doing the I love you solo. So.
Next up, Daniel Garcia defeating Jack Perry to take home the AEW TNT Championship. It was the right time. If you weren't going to do it with Danny Garcia winning, it wasn't going to happen. Like he needed this right now. Jack Perry can continue on with his character without the championship, but I think if Daniel Garcia took another loss right now and continued to lose in these big matches, I think that it would have hurt him way too much. He needed this win right now.
Yeah, he definitely. I think Darren this year definitely needed it, and I think Jack Perry definitely needed to lose this title because I don't think this reign really did much for him.
No. You can have your scapegoat character. You don't need the title for that. The win itself, when he won the title, like I got it in that moment and what they were trying to do with the new elite and everything else. But he hasn't done anything with. Yeah. it's been inconsequential to him as a character going forward, so he didn't really need it. Follow up with another championship match, which was the AEW International Championship. Konosuke Takeshita defeating Ricochet. I like Takeshita. I love Ricochet. So I didn't really know who was going to win this one. I also went back and forth on, do you have Ricochet take a loss this early? But I don't think that this loss did a disservice to him. I think him and Takeshita put on just such an incredible match that coming out of it, he still looked like Ricochet, and you still felt like, all right, he is a contender.
Yeah, and I think now looking back, especially if they're turning him heel and sort of he lost, so now he needs another way to get these opportunities. I think it adds to that story as well, and which is fine with him losing, especially if you're building Takeshita. It should be okay for him to beat someone who's on his level. So you can't just have him defend the title against people who are below him. That wouldn't help him at all. So having him beat Ricochet, thought was a good decision. And I see some people didn't really like this match, even people who are fans of Takeshita and Ricochet. And I do sort of agree with, like, I think it was Ricochet trying to show that he wasn't just the flippy guy, but at the same time, everyone just wants to see the flippy guy.
Yeah. We had Bobby Lashley defeating Swerve Strickland by technical submission. So I'm I'll be honest, I'm not that much of a fan of Bobby Lashley. In his group with MVP and Shelton Benjamin, he's my third favorite member of that group. So, and I've loved the work of Swerve Strickland, but I get it. Bobby's the new big guy, so you got to give him the win. But this match just really didn't do much for me.
Yeah, I didn't have like huge expectations for it or anything. I liked the story of it, and yeah, but Lashley definitely needed the win. I do like Lashley. I wouldn't say I'm like a huge fan, but I definitely do like him. And I'm just interested, especially with this whole Hurt Syndicate story going forward, and what other members could possibly be added. Like I was just talking about Ricochet, and I think it's an interesting angle, even if it is like another group sort of taking over, sort of not really.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then finally, John Moxley, champion, uh, defeating Orange Cassidy. Again, I did not have Orange Cassidy winning this at all, so it was a good match. Weird ending to the match, in my opinion. Like, but it was an expected outcome.
Yeah, I'd say the sort of weird thing about this one, and it doesn't really have to do with John Moxley or Orange Cassidy, it's sort of like the whole conglomeration thing. You'd think they would be there to help him against these guys, and they sort of do come out at the end, but then the one weird thing is you have Willow attack Marina Shafir, which is something people have been saying is like, well, you need a woman here to fight her, and then after that attack, nothing ever happened from that. Like I don't think they've interacted at all, Willow and Shafir. So that was a bit weird there. But besides that, I did like the match. Obviously, Orange is a good baby face there to take out this heel John Moxley. So good pick there, and had all the classic stuff. You had some crowd brawling there, and you had that great nail spot that I saw people talk about, just like graphic imagery there. And but I thought it was a fun match. I mean, I like that. I wouldn't say I've been like a massive, massive fan of the Moxley title reign and this whole storyline, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't like offensive in any way, I don't think, and it obviously made sense for Orange to be a challenger there. So yeah. Oh, you're muted.
It, like I said, it served its its purpose. It wasn't a wow match, and it just seemed like I did not see a situation where Orange walked away as the champion. And I like Orange Cassidy, but I don't see them ever making him a legitimate world champion. Mid card, yes. World, no. And so in this, it just seemed like, okay, he's there to fight for AEW, but I don't see a situation where he takes home the belt. Not right now.
Yeah. I agree.
So the other big pay per view that we had coming out of that was Survivor Series War Games, the big Bloodline pay per view. They were the center point. So, unlike our last pay per view, which had 12 matches, this one had 5, which I think WWE's been doing a good job with. Just here's what we have as a focal point. Here's what we're throwing in, and we're not rushing to get everybody on the card. Now, I don't know how much of that has to do with the fact that they're now mainly streaming for their PLE, so it's not like the old days where you got the DVD residuals, so they're not rushing to get everyone on the card so everyone gets this pay-per-view payday or whatnot. But it was a 5-match card. You started off with the women's War Games with Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky, and Bayley defeating the Judgment Days, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. I thought that the women did pretty good in this match. Io Sky, of course, is an MVP of these style matches with her high-flying athletics. The trash can spot is always fun. Tiffany Stratton with the briefcase, and in that moment, you didn't know who she was going to cash in on because there's technically 2 champions in that match. So I think that they had some good spots. I was shocked when Rhea came in and she didn't just decimate everyone out the gate. But in retrospect, okay, she's such a threat. They all had to team up on her coming in.
Yeah, I like this match probably more than most people did, I think. But I do agree that I think when it was sort of that time, those I'd say 20 minutes or so where everyone's coming in, I think it was a little slow. But once everyone was in, I really liked that. And I really liked everything onward from that point. But even in that time when people were just coming in, I thought some of those interactions, like Io and Tiffany having like a little face off there and doing their moves, was really good. And obviously built to when they both do their moves off the cage. That was really awesome. And yeah, I think made sense the finish with Rhea pinning Liv, obviously setting up a title shot there. And yeah, I liked a good showcase of all these women who've had these storylines, and even Candice LeRae getting on this show was cool. And,
I mean, you got to have the speed champion.
I mean, yeah, technically there's another person Tiffany could have cashed in on there.
You know what? I didn't even think about that, but you're absolutely right. Hey, it's a perfect time to have an impromptu speed championship match.
You could have had a speed championship match in between the intervals.
Like, all right, we got 3 minutes waiting on someone to come in. We're gonna have a quick speed championship match. I think that's something that they would have done back in the day with the 24/7 championship. If you had someone in the cage, I could see one of their partners turning around, pinning them real quick to win the 24/7 championship in the middle of that match. Yeah. So next up, we had LA Knight defending his United States Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura, and Shinsuke winning it. They took the belt off of LA Knight, gave it to Shinsuke and his new darker character, and I mean, from Shinsuke's entrance to the match itself, I'm loving this presentation of Shinsuke Nakamura right now.
Yeah, and we've been talking earlier this whole show about people needing a win to establish them, and this was definitely one of those cases. Like, you can't do all that presentation and just have him lose. Like,
Yeah.
just wouldn't work. And yeah, I think it was sort of like an unexpected pick, like win, but then once it happened, it's like, okay, obviously this needed to happen. But yeah, it was cool. I think I like that Shinsuke won clean technically, even if he was using sort of dirty tactics, but he didn't like low blow him, for example.
Yeah. And just like you said, Shinsuke needed this. I mean, everyone knows that Shinsuke isn't concerned in reality about wins and losses. He's out here having fun. He's putting on his matches. He's doing what he needs to do. But I think from a character standpoint and from a somebody to be taken seriously as a competitor standpoint, he needed this win. He got the win. His presentation, his new presentation has been just
It's been
amazing.
awesome.
So
It's gotten even better, like from SmackDown to the next show to Survivor Series, like, and you can see they've been taking like at first it was like he had the because even the SmackDown entrance the night before was actually taped, so they had about a week between that first presentation and Survivor Series to make some changes. Because if you go to that SmackDown, the theme is it's similar in that style where it's using the more like classic instruments like the flutes and stuff to play his theme, but it wasn't as different as the version is now. It was sort of just like a cover of his normal theme, just like on different instruments. But then at Survivor Series, it was very much the darker version uh, with the blood moon, which I really like. And even his entrance, I think, when he won the title, like the next week, now they've even timed it so the moon rises behind him as he walks to the ring. So when he starts out, it's fully behind him, and then it rises, so you always see the blood moon behind him as he walks the ring. So just an awesome presentation there, and Triple H even uploaded that video of them working out the entrance and the lighting and stuff, which I thought was a cool behind the scenes look there of just how they plan all this stuff out.
yeah. It's pretty cool. I've been liking his entrances, and I'm excited to see where he's going. Next up, we had triple threat match for Intercontinental Championship. Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser. Like I said earlier, Sheamus has been putting on a show. Braun Breaker has been putting on a show, and I think that Ludwig Kaiser looked super strong in this match. He looked like a competitor that could keep up. He did not look like the guy who was just thrown in to eat the pin. They all had a chance to shine and look great and just have that hard hitting match. And I think that this was an excellent showing for all of them. I was not surprised by Braun Breaker walking away with the win and keeping his championship just a little bit longer. So it was a good, solid match. Nothing that is going to be like, oh, this was match of the night contender, but it's also something that you walked away thinking all three of these men were strong competitors.
No, yeah, like you said, Kaiser was absolutely had his spot in there. It wasn't just let's put him in there. Like he had a story reason and just like a work rate reason to go in there, and he's great. Also, another person who's been having just like a great year, just having great matches. And yeah, I thought it was really fun. I love all three of these guys really, and like any combination of them, it's gonna be a great match. And I'm a
Yeah.
big triple threat fan, so that was another one for me. And yeah, love the finish with Kaiser getting speared so hard that he went out of the ring, and then Braun hits the second spear on Sheamus for the win. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean Kaiser didn't even take the pin in this situation, so definitely building him up. And I do think at some point, especially with my theory of Sheamus winning the IC title, I think they will have more matches, and I think within a year you could see Kaiser as the Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah. I would love to see a version of Imperium where Ludwig Kaiser's standing next to Gunther and they're both standing there with their championships. I think for their entrance, their presentation, that would look really cool for both of those competitors.
Yeah, and I also like the story they've been telling with Gunther and Kaiser. Like it's not one of those where another member in the team is having more success and they're jealous. Like I think in story, Gunther and Kaiser really do want the other to improve and win titles, and I don't think there's any. Even if they might be doing their own thing, I don't think there's really any splits happening soon. I don't think.
Yeah, no. Speaking of Gunther, he's next up defeating Damian Priest for to continue his reign as world heavyweight champion. Gunther is Gunther. Like, my man is killing it. He's doing a great job. This was an absolute just slapper. They were going back and forth with it. I am hoping though that this is the last ride of the Gunther versus Damian Priest for a while. Gunther gets his confidence back after this. You know, they can roll out from there, but I think that the Gunther Damian Priest has been done a little bit too heavy right now. That let's let it cool off. Let them go face some other people, and then if you want to come back to that because Damian Priest is such a strong competitor, then go ahead. But I think this is a good. All right, let's just end this now. And Gunther versus Damian Priest and the Judgment Day, like that's not something you see. Like, hey, you interfered with my match. I'm mad at you too. Yeah, you helped me, but I got this.
Yeah, Gunther is just a very unique character in the world of wrestling, where he's a heel, but he's just so good at what he does that he doesn't want to win dirty in any way. And yeah, obviously that built up to the triple threat from last night, which was also a great match. And yeah, like I said, also a huge Damian Priest fan, and so yeah, I like this match. A lot of limb work there with the arms, I think it was in that match, and yeah, good. Another good Gunther match. Like you're really not gonna have a bad Gunther match, especially if it has time and is on a PLE.
Yeah. And then we're finished it off with the highlight of it all, the men's war game match. And it was the new bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa, accompanied by Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns, Jimmy and Jey Uso, Sammy Uso, so Sami Zayn, and CM Punk. This match actually exceeded my expectations for what they did, even though, you know, in the wash of it all, we lost a member of both sides of this to injury, but I think everyone in here did an amazing job. Jey Uso starting the match so that he could do his entrance straight to the ring. Like I was here for that. I'm like, all right. You assumed Roman would be out last just because he has the long drawn out entrance, but giving Jay his main event Jey Uso crowd entrance, I think was a nice way to kick things off. So I think
Yeah, that's one of those entrances where you want to have it just gets the crowd into it and excited, so it makes sense.
yeah, have you seen the video of CM Punk and Jimmy in the cage during the entrance when they are
Oh,
just
I saw a little bit of it. I didn't see the
everyone is bouncing. Roman's in the back. He's trying to keep a straight face, but you could tell he's nodding his head too. Like everyone is just into this entrance. CM Punk apparently went a little bit off script with his push to it, but I thought that, hey, that was a great touch, and that wasn't Punk being unprofessional. To me, that was Punk being so much of a professional when it comes to wrestling that he knew this little thing would add to the story.
Yeah,
So
it was a great moment because you just weren't expecting it. Like you're seeing him make his entrance, and then he goes over and hits him. It was good.
yeah, there was a lot of good storyline work with the bloodline, and oh man, first uh Roman keeping Punk from going out. That scene of him just hand in front of the cage that has been screenshotted so many times. And then the reverse of it, when Roman wants to go out, Punk shoulder checking him is like, nah, I got this. Those little bills, the planting the seeds that okay, they're not going to be able to get along, so because they're not going to be able to get along, they're going to lose against the new bloodline, and then Punk saving Roman, and then them kind of having that moment of all right, we can do this together, which just overall great match. I'm sad to see Bronson Reed go down to injury. I've rewatched that spot a couple of times. When the spot first happened, I thought, oh, that did not look good, but rewatching it and seeing his ankles, I
Yeah.
feel for the guy, and I'm hoping for a speedy recovery for Bronson because he was on such a hot track right now. Um,
It
Jacob
looks like I
Fatu,
think he already has gotten surgery, so hopefully all goes well for him and he's
yep,
back as soon as he can.
he'll be out past WrestleMania, but hopefully he takes his
That'll
time.
be a great return there, hitting a surprise tsunami on someone to set up a big match.
Oh yeah, Jacob Fatu was selling his injury. He was actually the one not injured, but the one who looked the most injured. Because I was like, oh man, not his leg again. The way that he sold some of those was just great. And then again, the
Because I think the whole thing was like he was supposed to hit the moonsault, I think, on Punk, and then that was just a genuine botch. But then he
yeah,
completely just went into selling the leg, so no
yes,
one even noticed the botch and just was like, oh, did he actually get hurt there? But he got
sold it for
hurt.
the rest of the match. Made it what it was. It was just great work, and the I'm gonna say the good guys get the win, and the moment with CM Punk and Paul Heyman reminding him of the favor, like the story build up of that, I'm just like, yes, let's keep going with this. I want to know what the favor is. I want to know where we're going with this. I want to know what Punk's involvement is. I think it was just such good storytelling in the match and then after the match.
Yeah, I guess we haven't really mentioned the favor at all in these WrestleMania plans, but what do you think it is specifically? I mean, my thinking is Paul Heyman getting him that WrestleMania main event, but
I
then yeah,
Exactly. And I think they're going to be vocal with it because everyone knows that that was a big deal for Punk. I mean, he said it in the interview, in the Colt Cabana interview. He said it in other things like that was a dream of his and he was pissed when it was taken away. So, yeah, I could see that being a linchpin of, I told you guys I wanted to main event WrestleMania. I had the injury last year when I should have main evented night one of WrestleMania, and yet you put, Roman and Cody in two different nights of it. Like, if this leads to him versus Cody, I could see that because, hey, you got the main event two different nights last year while I was sitting on injury. Like, that would be the favor. The wise man pulled the strings and got me my match that I am so deserved. So
yeah,
I think that's going to be the favor.
yeah, I agree.
So, but other than that, Survivor Series, great showing. Again, only the 5 matches, but they maximize those matches, which they've been doing a lot of. Not too many shenanigans, just straight up good matches and a good showing for your mid card championships. I did think it was odd at the time not to, for this being one of the original Big Four pay per views, to not have Cody anywhere on it. But knowing that he was getting saved for Saturday night's main event, but they still made the most of it. So,
Yeah, it was good.
all right. Speaking of pay per views, we got coming up AEW World's End. So, their World's End pay per view originally wasn't World's End wasn't that big, and now it's gotten to a point where it is getting a little bit more shine.
Yeah, last year was not a good showing for the World's End pay-per-view, with some saying that might have been AEW's worst pay-per-view of all time. But
Yeah,
it looks a bit better this year, I'd say.
yeah. So this one's looking like it's actually going to be good. So you're going to have your Continental Classic winners. First, the runner-up match, and then the winners match. So
How does this runners up thing work? Like, I'm not as versed into the rules and stuff of the Continental Classic. Is it just like, does the runners up match give them anything, or is that just like, just the runners up will have a match?
so I believe it is, and this is weird. So you could have in the it is the Blue League winner versus the Gold League runner up, and then the Gold League runner, and then the Blue League runner up versus the Gold League winner. And then whoever wins those will go on to face each other for the Continental Championship.
So in
So,
theory, both runners up could beat the winners and then face each other to be the real winners.
yep, or you could have a just straight up Blue League or just straight up Gold League finals.
Oh yeah,
So you
that's pretty
could win.
interesting.
Yeah, you could be the Blue League winner and think, okay, who am I facing from the Gold League? And then end up facing the runner up, someone you've already faced before. Like it gives it that deeper layer. That the final
Yeah,
could be someone
unpredictable. Yeah.
you've already faced before. So I do like that aspect of it. But the whole Continental Classic thing as a whole has just been, in my opinion, weird with the belt and its lineage and everything like that. So Okada's the championship now. So like he loses the championship in a match he's not even in. I don't know. Does this automatically, do you see him just walking into the finals because he's the championship and then him losing it outright, or does he win it all so that they don't have to do some weird switch with the belt? Like, how does that work? That
Yeah,
is
I'm
that
not
is the
really
only
sure. I
part.
think that it goes back to the fact that this belt really should have been like some sort of trophy or something like that to make it a bit less complicated. But
Yeah,
I assume they'll have it figured out and it'll make sense. But yeah, definitely a bit complicated there in terms of how this belt affects things. But it'll be some great matches along the way.
speaking of weird belts and weird championships, we've got MJF versus Adam Cole for the Dynamite Diamond Ring.
Is it actually for the ring?
It's for the ring. I mean, Adam Cole won the qualifier, so it's actually for the ring. MJF being the 5-time ring holder, having won it every year. So is it finally the year where someone else wins it, or like I never thought that we would be wrestling for a legitimate ring. And it's different from when Cody switched the ROH title to a ring, so he didn't have to carry the ROH title with him everywhere. But this is like an actual championship ring that people compete for, and yeah, I think MJF is going to continue the win with it, and that's going to set up more stuff with Adam Cole and the Kingdom breaking down. Because to me, the Kingdom's not working. The whole devil thing didn't work. The Kingdom's not working. I think you just need to break them up and then do a relaunch with Adam Cole.
Yeah, I think the whole devil, like, people talk about how it didn't really work for Adam Cole, but when you look at the rest of this faction, like, they just went lower and lower down the card to the point where Wardlow has, like, completely disappeared from AEW.
I forgot Wardlow was a part of this. He was a part of that, the devil unmasking.
He was one of the devil's masked men, and yeah,
Yeah.
he's just been gone there. But yeah, I guess that makes sense. MJF winning. I just didn't think they would really continue this feud after this point, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. John Moxley, Orange Cassidy, Hangman Adam Page, and Jay White in a fatal 4-way match for AEW World Championship. Again, I don't see Orange Cassidy being world champion, much as I like him, and I think he's been a great asset for AEW. I just don't see him being world champion unless it's going to be a transitional world champion. But do you think somebody else could win over John Moxley?
I don't think so. I think this match will start with the three, let's say, goodish guys attacking him 3-on-1, but eventually it'll break down. Obviously, they start fighting each other to the point where I assume some people are down. There's one guy left. Moxley comes in, hits his finisher, and retains the title.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. I think that it will be a situation where the one-on-one between Hangman and Switchblade distracts from the match. They end up brawling, getting taken out, and then maybe Moxley pins Orange Cassidy to retain while they're off distracted, and that leads to more with them instead. But I just don't see Orange Cassidy winning. But I could, if you are going to switch the title, maybe do Hangman. I don't think Jay White has been positioned as a champion in AEW, not to that degree, not like he was back in New Japan. So the only other option I think would be Hangman Adam Page, but I see John Moxley continuing this.
Yeah. Plus, I think if you are building Jay White, I think what they're building to is a singles match between him and Moxley for the title. I assume in Australia for Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Not his exact home country, but next to it.
Yeah. Let's see. Mariah May versus Thunder Rosa. Tijuana Street Fight for the AEW Women's Championship. Mariah May has been just class recently. I've I know I looked on the internet. Some people haven't liked her as champion. I've loved her as champion. I've loved the back and forth with her as champion. Like, I really feel she has brought a fun aspect to that championship title. She's continued some of the stuff that she had done with Tony Storm and just continuing that feel. I don't think Thunder Rosa has been positioned in a point recently to make you feel like she's a real credible threat.
I
And
saw
she,
someone put up the only person she's beat just over and over and over for the last 4 months has been Harley Cameron. She's had she's beaten no other people. I don't think she's even wrestled other people other than Harley Cameron for like 4 months,
yeah,
and she just gets the title here.
she shows up. She has the sign about how she's not a fan of the current product and things like that. But to me, she's not really positioned as a strong championship contender. I think she's going to put on a great match. I think Thunder Rosa can wrestle her ass off. Don't get me wrong. She can hold her own and she can take Mariah May through different segments and different maneuvers that you wouldn't normally see in a Mariah May match. And I think that will add an extra layer to it. I just don't see her as a champion.
Yeah,
And
like for me, like to counter, I haven't been a huge fan of Mariah's reign. I feel like a lot of the matches have just sort of been filler, waiting until Tony comes back, and there hasn't been much story for any of the defenses. I'd say besides just like sort of needing a defense, and I've just thought it's been okay.
yeah, nothing too special. We'll just have to see where it goes. Right now, there's 7 matches scheduled for this, which means that they're going to add 4 more between now
And then
and the
Moxley
28th.
versus Takeshita was announced on Twitter like the day before the show. Like it wasn't built on TV. Like they just
Yeah.
announced it like through the
Well,
AEW account. So I assume this will be another 11 to 12 match card, including pre-show matches and all that.
yeah. You don't have your mid card titles on there, the TBS or TNT Championship, so those will probably be added. They'll probably do something with the
They
tag
did
team.
add the. Did we mention the international
Yep,
one? Yeah.
that's number 7. That's the next one. That's the latest one that has been announced is Kinosuke Takeshita versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Yeah, Takeshita is keeping
Big
this.
meaty men match for the
Somewhere Biggie is smiling. Somewhere Biggie is smiling. Powerhouse Hobbs, I like him. He will give a good match, but I don't see him beating Takeshita. I see Takeshita continuing, and I believe Takeshita is going to be competing in Japan along with the Young Bucks and everybody on that joint show. So you're
I think he's having a match on both shows. I think they're somehow connected. It's something like on one of the shows he's fighting for a title, and then on the other show, it's obviously if he wins, then he'll defend that title against someone on the second show. I think the order is the AEW one is first, and then the Wrestle Kingdom is second. So I think
uh
Wrestle Dynasty is first, I
no
believe, or is it
uh
Dynasty?
Wrestle Kingdom is first because Wrestle Kingdom is always on January 4th, and then the AEW Dynasty is on the 5th.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, because that's Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ricochet. Even though the day before it's Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shoto Umino for the championship. So
Kind of spoiling a result there. It's fine.
yes, but he's going to be a part of that. So I don't think you're going to take the championship off of him when he's about to have a strong showing going forward. I just, yeah, you don't waste that. Now the Young Bucks not having the title but going over to Japan, that's one thing because they're the Young Bucks. Same thing with Kenny Omega. You can send them over there with the rich history and that not be an issue. While Takeshita, I think you don't send him over there without the championship, especially the international championship, and then he's competing against people in Japan. You pretty much have to have that at some point.
Yeah.
So now, do you have any predictions for the Gold League winner and the Blue League winner? Right now, as it stands, Kyle Fletcher is leading the Blue League with Kazuchika Okada as runner-up, and Will Ospreay and Claudio and Ricochet are all tied with 6 points, with Will Ospreay technically being the top due to head-to-head defeats.
I could see the finals being. I think I predicted this of it being Osprey Fletcher.
Yeah,
So I said
I
Osprey would defeat someone in the first match. Maybe get a win back on Claudio, perhaps, to qualify and get into that final. And or how the brackets work. Well, I'm not. I'm thinking of it now. I think I messed it up, but whatever. Either way, I think the finals will be Fletcher and Osprey.
I think that it will be Kyle Fletcher as the Blue League winner versus Ricochet will take the Gold League runner up. And Kyle Fletcher will beat him in order to advance to the finals. I think Blue League runner up will be Okada versus Gold League winner, which will be Will Ospreay. I think they will have an absolute banger, which will lead to Will Ospreay being beat up in a match to face Kyle Fletcher in the finals. As far as who wins that, I think even being beat up, Will Ospreay wins that. You gave Kyle Fletcher the early wins, but I think Will Ospreay proves he's the veteran and wins it on that big stage.
Yeah. Especially if you have some of that Don Cal. I don't know who exactly would maybe help take out some of the Don Callis type interference, but I think Osprey ends up winning it through that interference being taken out somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe have him flip over and knock out Callis, take him down, and then he ends up winning.
So, like I said, we got 2 weeks until, just under 2 weeks until World's End. They're going to add 3 or 4 more matches plus 2 pre-show matches at least to this by then. So we shall see what else gets added. Like I said, I'm guessing a tag team match, TBS, TNT, and one other. Let's see. And finally, we have NXT versus AEW. So
instances in terms of I guess the ratings once again.
yeah, there has been some back and forth with the ratings, and I am not a ratings. Oh my God, look who beat who this weekend. Oh, they had 100,000 more viewers. AEW's in the toilet versus NXT is in the toilet. I do think some of it does get blown out of proportion by like people will post up pictures of the arenas. Up until recently, AEW was running bigger arenas but with the same amount of people in the crowd. NXT is running their normal size shows. So it does look like, yeah, NXT is full every week. And oh my God, look at AEW with these huge empty sections. Yes, they have huge empty sections in a 15,000 person arena. It's not the same. This to me is not the new Monday Night Wars. This to me is not the new Wednesday Night Wars. And I'm just
Yeah, if
happy.
they're going directly head to head, the comparison isn't really there because you're not splitting the viewers. That being said, when they did go head to head at the start of November with NXT going to Wednesday, they did beat them there. So
I
yeah,
give all credit to Joe Hendry.
I don't think he was even on that show.
Um,
It
I
was
will,
the ECW one.
yeah, I will say this about NXT. I think NXT does a better job of promoting where they're going. I think they do a better job of promoting new stars and a better job of promoting the possibilities. Like at any moment, you could see a new crossover. You could see something new happen with NXT. While I think AEW, Tony Khan has been relying on the his thought that they are the best wrestling product, which they haven't been putting out the best wrestling product. They have great wrestlers and they could, they just haven't been. And I think Tony's kind of been focused on the wrong things and putting his energy in the wrong places, which is effectively hurting AEW as a whole.
Yeah, and like you said about promoting where they're gonna be, I think NXT is obviously different because they're taping that at the Performance Center, so it's not like they're on the road every week where you could possibly be going for it. When they go somewhere, it's very much advertised and like a once a month, maybe twice a month type thing. So it builds that like, oh, I have to go when it's near me because they're probably not gonna be near me for a
Yeah.
long time if they only do like one show outside the Performance Center a month when in fact I think this week they're in Massachusetts and and that's the thing also they book small arenas. I think this week they're in I think it's the place where Sean lost his smile. It's only about like fits 1,000 people in Massachusetts, but they're running the show there.
Yeah. So I don't get the commentary behind one versus the other. And I think that NXT has been putting on great shows. They've been setting up future stars. I think AEW has its moments of setting up future stars, but it's still a quality product. Like I said,
Yeah,
I
I think the more interesting thing is less the week to week like ratings change because obviously anything can happen and a few like the Thanksgiving week they both had like 100,000 less viewers each on both their shows, so there's really
yeah,
nothing to fluctuate. The more interesting stuff is like the year over year, like how you see like NXT has slowly been growing and gaining viewers, while AEW like over years lost like 30% of their audience or 50% or however much it will be when you compare it to like 2021 or 2019 when they're like at their peak.
yeah. How much of that do you attribute to the what I feel has become the lack of long-term storytelling? That used to be something that AEW was known for, and I feel like Tony has gone from the what can I do? How can I make this story last as long as I can to look at my new toys and how dare you say anything about the decisions I make?
Yeah, you could say the same things. I mean, too about NXT. Like right now, like the whole women's division is just the sort of the same thing you're saying. Look at the new toys. I mean, you could make those comparisons, but I think NXT is just sort of like a different show. Like with it being developmental still, there's just a lot of things that could change roster wise, like week to week. And I think NXT sort of, since it is that developmental, I think one thing that helps is like people get attached more to some of these wrestlers. Like if you want to see them succeed and stuff like that, as compared to bringing in like an ex WWE star, for example, to AEW. Like it's like, okay, I've seen this person, I know what they can do. So like, yeah, I like them, but I don't have to tune in all the time because I've seen them before. As compared to NXT, where it's like, I really like this person, I can see them improving, so I want to watch every week and see my favorite wrestler and see what they do this week.
Yeah. Do you think that AEW is going to make some improvements to get back to where they were, or do you think NXT is going to continue to rise and just overtake?
I think it all depends on sort of, and I had this take about like the ROH supposed TV deal, that they supposedly put the title on Jericho to get the TV deal, even though the last time they put the ROH title on Jericho was to get a TV deal, and they didn't get a TV deal.
Yeah.
But my take was that if this does get them a TV deal, then why would they change anything? Because, oh, clearly it's working in their eyes, in business wise. And I think that's going to depend on them moving to Max too. They have the guaranteed money, and I think if they get a good viewership on streaming, like they won't be worrying about the necessary viewers, and they might not make as many changes if they're like, well, clearly this is working and we have our money, so why do we need to change? In their eyes, I mean, they're just looking at it from a pure business sense.
Yeah. To me, Jericho no longer screams dollars for me. Like, yes, he has been an integral part of the show, but he's not who I would hang my hat on anymore. I do think, especially with Ring of
I
Honor.
think even they know that, because this year I think I think it was All Out this year. That was like the first pay per view that Jericho ever missed, and
Yeah.
since then he hasn't. I don't think he was on Full Gear. I mean, he might. No, he's not gonna be. I don't think at World's End,
Nope
since he
and
has
nope.
this ROH thing. So I think even they know that he's. You don't need to put him in a match on every single pay per view and every single Dynamite.
Yeah. It's not translating again. I think that it's good to have him around, but not you don't need him in the prolific role that you had him in. And you've got all these other stars. Use them, build them up, and get people watching. Hell, I love Athena, and I would love to see Athena on TV more, especially if you're trying to get an ROH TV deal. Like, hey, here's a snippet of what we have over there. If you want to see more, let's get ROH on TV
Yeah,
because
you
she,
have every other ROH title defended on Dynamite, like except her. Pretty much,
yeah,
I think you could say literally every single other ROH title has appeared like consistently at some point within the last year on AEW TV, specifically Dynamite. And she's
yeah.
really only been only other time outside of ROH has really been like Battle of the Belts type shows, and those aren't gonna be drawn many viewers or attention.
Especially considering
They're
no
just
title ever
forced
changes
to, yeah,
hands.
and they're just being forced to make these shows. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's definitely an interesting scenario. But yeah, I definitely don't think AEW is like dead or dying, but it's definitely an interesting if you just look at the numbers of how the trends are going. And like people say, like every company is hot and cold at some point. So it just takes one change. Like it took like Cody Rhodes or The Rock coming back to make like WWE like the hottest, and it
Yeah.
could take like one storyline in AEW to make everything on fire again. So who knows?
Yep.
But yeah, I guess we haven't really talked about that either because we have the Netflix Raw premiere, and then AEW is starting streaming on Max. I think what that first week as well. I think before Netflix even. So I'm not sure what day exactly that Wednesday is. Maybe January 1st or 2nd. I think it is the first. I think that's going to be. It's a special show. I forget what the specific one is. I think Fight for the Fallen is going to be.
Let's see. Yeah, I believe it is Fight for the Fallen. That's the one that FTR has been really promoting. So, yeah, starting January 2025, Dynamite will be shown. Same thing with Collision, simulcast on Max. And then sometime later in 2025, Max will begin to offer pay-per-view AEW events for a discounted price for their subscribers. They don't say what the discounted price is, but discounted price.
Yeah.
So I could, I know right now things have, their old market has moved away from Bleacher Report and now is on Triller TV, which I switched over all my old purchases and then I didn't even see them under Triller TV. So I've never been a fan of Triller TV's platform, but they have also been airing AEW shows internationally. So I think that's why they went with that. But I'm happy for them to have an agreement to start airing on Max as well and doing that live stream. So I don't know if it will be commercial free also like the international broadcast.
I think Dave Meltzer was saying that he doesn't think it's going to be commercial free. And some people have even noticed that like more in these past couple weeks during the commercial breaks in AEW, the wrestlers have been working the matches like they've been having the rest type. It's not like on when you could watch the whole thing ad free, like they could just keep going through the action. People have noticed even if you're watching the ad free feed, when they go to commercial, they've been working more of the WWE headlocks for 3 minutes while we go to commercial.
Time for the rest hold, time for someone to get knocked out of the ring, and it's a good point for the referee to try and reset the match.
People are theorizing that probably going to be getting commercials on Max because of that reason.
Oh, I'm not a fan of that, but it is what it is.
But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Both major shows going to streaming with Raw and Dynamite in the same week. So
Yeah.
definitely going to be an interesting era there of how that works, and hopefully streams aren't crashing or glitching out and stuff like that.
I mean, I will say this: we're not at a point with wrestling where it is Mike Tyson, Logan Paul levels. So I don't think that will be necessarily an issue, but hopefully everything goes well. I will say I wonder how many people will get locked out of their accounts because the sharing aspect will be exposed a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it may boost their subscriber numbers with people who are wanting to watch something live. So we shall see. But I think
What stuff Max is necessarily streamed live? I can't think of anything specific that I think they have some sport. I think they have some sports packages. Maybe like NBA. I think they have on Max. So if they can handle that, they'll probably be fine with.
yeah, I have Max and I only use it for really DC stuff and a couple of other stuff here and there. So I haven't.
That's what I use it for. That's like the DC or like they have some A24 stuff, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
Other than that, I really haven't put it.
stuff, yeah.
I haven't put it to the test too much. So we shall see where we go with both of these streaming deals. I hope it works out. I hope wrestling succeeds. Rising tide raises all ships. So I hope both of them do well with this. We get more of a fan base. We get more people into wrestling. It continues its build up mainstream. I'm all for it. So hopefully
It is to find it. They're easier is to fans, especially if it's not on traditional cable TV. If you're just able to put on an app, click on one button and watch it, that'll be bringing in because it'll be easier. Just oh, you want to watch this, especially if the rumor is like all these Raws and stuff like that. Like once they end the stream, like they'll immediately be available to watch, like as a VOD there. So
Yeah, don't have to do the Hulu wait until 9 a.m. the next
yeah,
morning.
like Peacock, you have to wait like a whole month to see any of these episodes. So
Yeah, so that would be good. Before we get out of here, I know I'm putting you on the spot. Do you have an update on where we are with the draft?
yeah, I do. I did manage to do it before. So let me read out here. We
How bad am I
are
losing?
well, I can start with you if you want. So we are on the end of week 37 here, and this week you got 6 points for Gunther retaining his title. You got 2 points, and these are all doubled because of the PLE bonus, sort of. I'll count it as a PLE. Yeah, Gunther retaining his title. You got points for Priest being in the match. You got points for LA Knight. He technically won against Solo by DQ, so you get 2 points there on SmackDown. 2 points for Balor being in the match, and those were your points for the week, and you're at a total of 379 normal points with 265 bonus points and 22 jobber bonus points. uh, then Travis is at this week. He got points for Rhea. Oh yeah, she beat Raquel. That was a stipulation match, so that's some extra points there. He got points for her. He got points for Tiffany being in a match. Liv retaining her title, and Solo being in a match. So he is at 496 points with 235 bonus points and 10 jobber points. And then me got points for Cody retaining his title, Bailey being in a match, Sammy being in a match, Io being in a match, and Chelsea Green becoming the inaugural United States champion. Those were big points for me. And I am at 437 points with 375 bonus points and 13 jobber points. So a Rumble win or a Chamber win could maybe get me ahead of Travis with those normal points. Because he's ahead because of that Money in the Bank, those plus points.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
Big
So
Rumble's gonna get us a ton of points.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we've got a couple of events coming up. We've got another Saturday night's main event. We have that NXT show. We have the Raw on Netflix debut. So between all of these things, we will have some chance to get some points before the next time we talk to you all again. I will say, we will probably most likely be back after the next Saturday night's main event because that is before the Royal Rumble, so we'll have time to make our Royal Rumble predictions, things like that. So we'll have an NXT show, we'll have World's End and everything else before the Royal Rumble because Royal Rumble is the big one. We want to get in our predictions ahead of that. Not sure on.
Possible, I would maybe like to do like a mini episode, maybe just covering that big week with like Dynamite on Max and the Netflix premiere and NXT New Year's Evil, if possible. But if not, we'll definitely be back before the Rumble.
I can make that work. So we will get that exact date and time picked out, check with everyone else's schedule, make sure we're not overlapping with anything else on the Geek First Network,
Yeah.
and come back and do just a mini quick show. It won't be our normal couple hours, but we'll have time to
Just
touch on
covering
things.
the events of each show, and maybe,
Yeah.
well, who knows, if The Rock does come back, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
That's,
And
I
then
think that's it for today then.
Yeah, and then we'll get prepared. Like I said, Royal Rumble will be the big one. That's on February 1st. So we'll definitely be back before then. I'm not sure on Mr. Snell's availability just yet, but we'll also talk to him. So he will be giving his Royal Rumble prediction, whether in person or conveying it through us. But as Bubs, I appreciate you being the custodian of the draft and the points, even though I am continuing to get my ass kicked week in and week out.
Who knows? If you get some Rumble and Chamber winners on there, you could be again like
That
200 points and just
that
sweep everyone in the last month. So who
that
knows?
that's what I'm hoping, and I'm hoping that Gunther has a long and mighty reign. So he is my tribal chief at this moment. So I appreciate Gunther and all he's done. But Espuffs, thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you everyone who's watching and listening. Like I said, we will be back. We've got a busy month and a half of events coming through. It's going to be a nice, fun winter with, again, the streaming changes, the overall changes, the PLEs coming up, and then leading into Royal Rumble, which is the official kickoff of WrestleMania season. So I hope to talk to you all soon. Espouse, you got anything you want to say, anything you want to promote before we go?
No, not really. Just excited for all this stuff coming up in this next month, in just 1 month, pretty much. So tons of stuff happening. So hopefully
Yep.
we'll be back soon.
I can't wait. It's going to be a busy month. For those of you who do follow the rest of the Geekverse streams and follow the whole Geek Ultimate Alliance stuff that we've got going on. So those of you who know that outside of the Geekverse stream as itself, there's also the Geek Ultimate Alliance, and on there's a Marvel show that has been hosted by two incredible gentlemen, Chris Balga and Brent Clark. So Brent is going to be taking a step back, so I will be taking over temporary hosting duties on the Marvel show over there. So you can join me right here on the Geekverse channel on Thursday nights. I'll be doing the Marvel thing for a while until he returns from his brief sabbatical. But on that, yep, you can catch us here. We will send out a tweet or post on X with our next dates coming soon once we get it locked down. So on that, we will see you all later. Have a great Sunday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right.